Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Many Colors of 2026 episode of Astro Soup. And as always, um, Andrea and I are going to see if we can annoy each other,
Well, that'd be
moderately,
easy.
anyways. So, and I'm really excited about my earrings today because they actually connect to numerology. Because I got these for Christmas.
Oh,
They're
wow.
dominoes, right? And they add up to five, and I am a number five. So I love it when synchronicity works. So
Oh,
let's see what you got going on.
I was wondering why I had dominoes. Well, of course I have star earrings on because we're going to be talking about 2026 and what's going on in the stars. So I was just very literal.
Well, I guess you're allowed, only
You're,
moderately.
are you playing games with us? Is that why you're wearing domino earrings? Oh, whoa,
Oh
look at
my
those
God, you really had
balloons.
to take it there, didn't you? I'm not very good at playing, well, like talking about like games like dominoes, but other kinds of games, not so good. So how was your
Darlene's got great
Christmas?
earrings.
How was your Christmas?
My Christmas is awesome. I mean, I think I produced a pretty good Christmas for my 18-year-old child who obviously knows Santa's not real and doesn't want any presents. So I didn't get her, I gave her some cash.
Presents.
She has present anxiety, so then she feels like she owes people something. But I did, do the Christmas tree and played some accordion Christmas songs, of course. How was your trip?
Well, I didn't get much sleep, and the trip there was uneventful. And let's just say the hotel was on essentially Ambulance Alley. It's one of the major streets in Toronto. So, uh, yeah. So there's a lot of fluctuating energy on a street like that.
Hmm.
So, had a wonderful time with my family. Uh, my granddaughter even said to her mom, Grammy's just like a kid. Oh, you can't get a better recommendation than that. I don't. Uh, Trip
Right.
home, different story. Different story. Um, Flight was delayed 4 hours.
Oh my God.
Arrived in Edmonton at 3:45 a.m., give or take, to a
Wow.
blizzard. To a blizzard. Like I think we've had almost 60 centimeters of snow in a month. So it's been cold. So, um, but
It's good that you arrived home at all.
then it wasn't even the plane. And then to get in the cab and driving down the highway, and there's a snowplow, and he's trying to clear snow, but the wind is blowing so badly that it's just, anyway, it was a mess. Fortunately, I have a lovely cab driver who hauled my suitcases over a mound of snow, because once they start clearing the streets, you get these windrows. And this one it was like, for me anyways, it was like climbing Mount Everest. But but you know what? I got home, and I got home safe, and I feel a whole lot better, and I'm excited to do today's podcast. I
Well, it's
have
good to see you. I missed you.
I missed you too.
Mhm.
Uh yeah, it just doesn't seem right. Like,
Yeah, you get kind of attached.
so just before we jump into a year that's going to feel a oh, for heaven's sakes, a lot like the Wild Wild West. It's good to feel like. I just want to give people an update. So on February 21st, we're going to be doing the first two episodes of Aquarius. Yeah, you think I'd remember that since that's my sun sign, but apparently I'm having trouble. And so we will be joined by Lisa Allen, who's going to be talking about dowsing and pendulums for fun. And then upcoming, not sure, I don't have everybody scheduled in yet, but I have agreements. Jennifer Ng is going to come on and talk about the Chinese New Year. We're going to have Franco Soulbody come and talk about runes. And there's more where that came from, but currently, I can't remember them all.
Well,
I
that's a
have
lot of
lots
good
of
stuff.
guests upcoming. and including today, Marlene Chapman's going to talk to us about the numerology of 2026. And I have threatened to make her a regular guest. So far, she hasn't said not in a million years, so I guess we're going to be okay. Anyway, so where to begin? Well, I want to try to present this almost like a story as opposed to a series of events. Because in astrology, we sometimes forget that the energies we're talking about are fluid or moving, and they connect and keep shifting. And it's not a case of one day sticks out more than another, at least when we're talking about our ongoing daily lives. I mean, we can think back and have memories about specific moments, but those are not necessarily, those are about our memories and about our feelings, and not so much about, oh my God, what kind of an event was that? Like, to give you an example, today I was watching, as I was eating my lunch, on Netflix, a comedy special by Nate Bargatze, whom I love. And he started talking about his parents being older, but not that old, but fear of falling. And he started describing what it was like. And all of a sudden, all the feelings around my falling on my face started to emerge. So even comedy specials can be kind of a landmine. And not that that's a bad thing. If I was in a space and a place where I wasn't planning to do a podcast, I might have sat with it for a little bit longer. So, what do we got to say about 2026? Well, there's a major shift going on. And Pluto kind of started it a couple of years when it moved into Aquarius. But for the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a major emphasis on earth and water energy, and which is practical and feeling oriented, but still, if you think about what happens when you put water and earth together, it can make mud. It can make mud. So life has felt kind of sloggy and sludgy and muddy at times. And we haven't always been able to sort of take that energy and realize what its practical and feeling implications are. So to be honest, and it's always a challenge when Saturn is in a water sign because he's never happy there. And it doesn't mean you can't use his energy appropriately to make, the Pisces, all that Piscean energy coalesce it into something solid. But nevertheless, it's not his happy place. And of course, Neptune is going to be the first planet to kick off the year by shifting signs. And so I just want to backtrack a bit, and because I'm already living in the fire and air thing where things go zing and then they go zing in another direction, and my brain does that automatically. So I'm gonna have to take a moment and explain. So when we've been dealing with all this earth and water, there hasn't been a lot of uplift. There hasn't been a lot of optimism. I'm not saying it's not there ever. It's just when we're talking about the planets from Jupiter out being in earth and water, it means that our outer circumstances feel like it's just one mountain to climb after another, just to try to get your life stabilized. Now, and without that sense of optimism. So, of course, what happens when all those planets do a shuffle, as it were, and move into fire and air? And Andy and I are actually going to talk about remediation for so much fire and air a little bit later in the show. And I also have some rare treats for people because not only did I do AstroBites this month, I'm also going to give you a planet to work with and an animal you can connect with. So, because it seemed to me that, giving everybody a keyword, an astrobite for the year, needed a little more ongoing support than just the word itself. So, all this fire and air. Well, for some people, it's going to feel like liberation and let's party. And for other signs, it's going to feel like an unnecessary complication. Because, depending on your sun sign, so if you happen to be a water or earth sign, it can energize you, but it can also make you feel like nothing is grounded. And that is, as Andy and I are going to probably talk about when we get to remediation, is a real challenge. Now, for somebody like me who's got so much air in her chart, like I said, it's a party. Of course, I have a different definition of what that means, but so the fire and the air energy. So fire is action oriented and optimistic and ready to tackle whatever is in front of it. These are the risk takers, at least the physical risk takers. And air signs. Well, the air energy itself, it is about connecting our inner and our outer worlds. So we often think about communication only as communication outwards to other people, but we really don't always think about communicating with ourselves as a priority. So those things so there's going to be a lot of emphasis on action and taking risks. And for the first part of this year, now this is going to happen in stages. So Neptune moves into Aries, and what it's going to do is, as it always does whenever it enters a sign, is going to begin to dissolve things and make things murky. For the purpose of, asking us, I'm going to read what I wrote because it's simpler, to get to the essence of who we are, so our actions match our core. But that requires a new vision of how the different parts of you are supposed to interact. And so Pluto kicked this all off by asking us, in 2024 briefly, and then again permanently last year, to dig deep, to be prepared to purge. And so when Neptune comes along and kind of dissolves all the stuff that we tried to purge. Because sometimes you know what it's like, unless you physically remove things, when you're purging your feeling body, things have a habit of hanging on. So when Neptune comes along, he can help you out by dissolving those things. Then on February the 13th, 2 days before my birthday, Saturn goes into Aries. Now, he's a little happier in a fire sign because he might be able to get something done. Saturn likes, not only does Saturn believe that control is desirable, it also believes it's possible. So it's always a bit of a challenge for Saturn to realize that there's a difference between controlling things and molding things and structuring things. So there's always that tension. And in a fire sign, Saturn's going to want to try to control that pioneering instinct that Aries has. So there's going to be a little bit of tension there. And then on April the 28th, Uranus moves into Gemini and starts a party right away. His journey through Taurus has not necessarily been happy for him or anybody else. Because, Uranus wants to not just stir the pot. I always call it the stick of dynamite in the dam of your life. If you're not paying attention to any calls for change, it's going to literally blow things up, and figuratively. So getting out of an earth sign into an air sign is going to be happiness inducing for him, and it's going to energize our curiosity and our need to see things from a different perspective. And so being able to meet people and talk with them and actually communicate. How much have we heard over the last couple of years in particular that we really should stop trying to make other people the enemy or the problem and actually meet them on a human level and speak with them? So Uranus and Gemini will give us that opportunity to finally, and to do so in a way that isn't about, I have all the answers if you would just listen to me, right? Uh, and then we have at the end of June, Jupiter moves out of Cancer, where it's exalted, into Leo, a fire sign. So here we see the fire energy building and building. And so that's going to be asking us to open our hearts, to be clear that, well, that the only way to really truly expand our consciousness is through the feeling of love. It really speaks to, oh, geez, A Course in Miracles, some of the Neale Donald Walsh books, in which the Conversations with God book, that the opposite of love is fear. And so Jupiter's going to help us do that. And then on July the 26th, the nodal axis changes from water to air, water and earth to air and fire. So I had some fun, and mostly when wait till you get to see what I drew for the nodal symbols. I always have trouble with, I don't know what it is. I always have trouble drawing the south node. So here's Pluto. And then you add in Neptune. And then you add in Saturn. Those two are going to be cozied up to each other, and they come at life from completely different points of view. We do not agree.
Oh yeah, Saturn's very concrete and manifestation on Earth kind of thing, and then Neptune's more what's in our vision realm and more in the clouds. So the two of those coming together is a really interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, because Neptune is really about what I think of as the world of all possibilities. Like anything that you can dream of might be possible. And Saturn says, really?
Yeah,
Have you looked around lately? No. So
right.
Neptune is very idealistic. At the same time, is if you're not in touch with some sense of life is bigger than you are, if that makes any sense, then it can cause you serious problems.
Yes.
And then we add in Uranus. Yeah, okay. See? And then we add in Jupiter. And then we add in
Oh wow, your
the
notes are
nodes.
cute.
Yeah, well, this was probably my sixth attempt to make them look reasonably appropriate. Um,
If you
yeah,
flip it upside down, it still looks correct.
ain't it the
Whoa.
truth? And of course, the nodal axis is very, and I was going to put the moon in here, but I just ran out of space in my hand. These are connected to the moon. And so this is about the growth pattern that the moon is inviting us to engage in. And it's, the south node's in Leo, which is about self and about ego at times. And the north node, which is Aquarius, which is expand your consciousness beyond your own specific thoughts, ideas, needs. It's about change. It's about rocking the boat. So you can see that this is a pretty complex year. And what I'm going to say is that I think we're going to feel the energy before we the energy of the fire and the air before we really start feeling exactly what the planets in each of those signs means. Because by the time we get to the end of July, we've got a balance of three. We don't count the nodal axis as a planet, but it's always important when it changes signs because it changes the eclipse patterns. And so those eclipse patterns will shift to the signs. This is a mixed bag year, some in Pisces and Virgo, and some in Aquarius and Leo. In fact, actually, the new moon in Aquarius, which is 2 days after my birthday, is solar eclipsed. So I'll be able to report on that at some point. Anyway, uh, so when we're looking at this here, you can see how energized it is. It's going to be like a jolt of energy, and you have to realize that whenever planets move into a new sign, especially the outer planets and the social planets, that's Jupiter, Saturn, um, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they're all in fire. They're going to move all into fire and air. And so that weights things in a particular direction in terms of the energy signature. So if you happen to be water and earth, one of the things I'd recommend is that you, if you've never had a birth chart reading, you have one with someone that local or that you trust, um, to help you understand what that might mean to you, because it's such a complex picture, and everybody's birth chart, I always say, has 50 variables minimum that you have to take, that an astrologer has to take into account. And so I mean, we're going to do a little bit of stuff toward the end that has to do with sun signs, but that's mostly a support system as opposed to a prediction system. And it's important. I wanted to make sure that you understand that my intention is to describe the signature to you. I always think it's funny because every year at the beginning on New Year's we set our resolutions, and we think because the sun's in Capricorn that we can plot out our entire year. That is not necessarily how it rolls. Some years that might work and some years that might not. The other thing is I think it's better to set intentions rather than resolutions. For me, the word intention is much more expansive than a resolution. A resolution kind of locks you in, whereas an intention, you can shift it and change it as you go along. So if you want to, you can, at this point in time, uh, decide, take a look at your resolutions and see if you couldn't turn them into intentions instead. Anyway, I want to make sure that I have covered everything. I have a lot. Oh, yeah. So, good God, 25 minutes went by in the blink of an eye.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, is that what we're doing? Okay. I'm glad to get an update. Okay. So, next on the agenda, that we're going to do the color cards for 2026. And then Marlene's going to talk to us about the numerology, because I'm sure she's wondering if when she has to prepare herself to talk. So now I'm giving her advance warning. Okay. So these were very interesting cards that I picked. And then as I thought I was only going to pick three, and then I got the message that I should pick four. And then I kept shuffling the cards, and then the message came, well, we're only going to pick number four when we're actually on camera. So there you go. Who knew that there were beings that could boss me around? Anyway, so the colors for this year, very interesting. And of course, I do color cards every episode because their color is fluid, and it's like building an energy pattern over the year. So these are kind of like the general energies for the coming year. And of course, every episode will be doing more to kind of factor in. And the other thing is, if you don't like a color, ask yourself why. What does it say about something in you? Okay, so the first one is pearl, and it says strengthen your connection with the divine, which in an interesting way feels very Neptune and Aries to me. Like, be guided in any actions that you take by your knowing, your intuition. Does that make sense to you, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where it does seem kind of ethereal and it kind of has that heavenly feel to it which would be like kind of the Neptune and Aries piece of the puzzle.
And then we got brilliance. It says discover your brilliance, which is a really interesting thing with so much fire and air, like being open and being coming and air being the thing that translates your internal world to your external world. I never really thought about it like that till today. So we always tend to think of the word brilliant as a special category for special people. And yet we are all brilliant at something and we all shine, says the typical Aquarian.
Mhm. Well, I think astrology kind of teaches us that, right? That all of us are brilliant at something, and that's what our chart would say.
That we carry brilliance within. It's an energy. It's not, and yeah, and however you choose to manifest your particular brilliance.
Yeah.
So good focus, especially in a year that's got a lot of air and fire, because it can be about setting new goals.
Yeah.
And then this was really interesting. This must speak to the Pluto, black.
Wow.
And I've been having challenges because um, I have, every once in a while when I'm shuffling cards and there's a part of me that says, "Excuse me, could you get your ego out of the way? This isn't about whether you think this is appropriate." And so black is fine richness from the dark night.
Wow.
So, and apparently we were supposed to pick a fourth one, so now that's what we're going to do. And then, well, I guess I'm going to do it. There's no we about it. So
I can't reach the cards personally.
no. Well, energetically, you could actually. I was mistaken when I said that. Everybody here could,
Marlene's probably sending some juju to the cards right now.
but maybe Jennifer too. You just never know because
Yeah.
they're not talking because they're not allowed to.
Oh, really?
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, of course, my brain wants to go, this isn't the right one. So I'm going to be interested in and if our guests would like to weigh in on this, they can. This one is cherry, which is live an extraordinary life. So any feedback? Nobody's going to say anything? Come on.
Well, I'll say something.
I can always depend on you.
What does it say on the card? It says live your best life.
So live an extraordinary life.
Live an extraordinary life. Well, I feel like that's one of the things about going through the year astrologically is by hearing you do the forecast, then we can live our most extraordinary life because we know what's coming. And that's the point of astrology in general, in some ways.
And Jen just said she loves black, so she's okay with the black card. So,
I feel like the cherry blossoms living an extraordinary life ties right in with the whole one universal year.
okay, so
Right.
now we're just gonna, Marlene just
Because
created a perfect segue for us. So,
right, because as far as the universal years go, um, how we work with that energy personally is very dependent, right? Then because um, we're all going through our own personal year cycle as well, right? And we get that number just from the date and month of our birth. But if we look at the one as a universal vibration, it's the number of invention, right? So we're probably going to start seeing even more if it's possible, right? AI creating the ability for small business owners, right, like us, to be able to do a whole range of other things, right? As well as that the fact that it's taking over, it's going to take over a lot of people's jobs, but they can go and often live an extraordinarily amazing life doing something different, right? Because what we know is that we've got cycles, right? And the world is being pushed into like a whole new 9 year period, that what the seeds that are planted this year, right, could take, they're going to take years to play out, right? And how they play out is going to be very interesting to see. Um, I hate talking about politics, right? But it's everywhere right now.
Okay.
About, when we were thinking about, I was just thinking about the universal year and, what does it mean? I thought, in order to really know what it would mean to a country, we should look at that country's birth date and see like what personal year it is for that. So I started writing a little bit of numbers before I got distracted by something else. So I don't have something big and lengthy here, but I thought it was very interesting to take a look.
Can I interrupt for just a sec?
Oh, yes, please.
Only because before we move on to looking at that, there's such a strong connection between a one cycle universal year and all the fire and air. Because one is initiatory, these are initiatory energies, and the one of the challenges around those initiatory energies is recognizing we're not always looking at consequences. It's just we're doing, which is perfect for all the
Exactly.
shifting and changing that's taking place. So I see that link between, and then I see like last year, in the 9 cycle year, and there were all those planets finishing their journeys through the particular signs. You know, I mean, I don't follow the the astrological numerological cycles to see if they match up. So when they do, I'm excited. So
Well, this could be a very interesting process as time goes on, right? Being able to look at how these things pull together. So, because everybody's talking about Venezuela, I'm not going to pretend that I know like all the facts of it, but I looked at it numerology wise. And they're in a 4 year. And when I have a client sitting in front of me and they're going through a 4 year, I'm like, it's time to get your shit together. It's time to get organized. It's time to make sure that the foundation is very strong. Personally, I hate the 4 year. Out of the 9 year cycle, it's not the one I love because it's like when your hand is kind of forced. But the United States, they're not in a particularly disciplined year to be deciding to go around and conquer because they're in a 3 year. It means that their energy's scattered and pulled in so many different directions that their ability to follow something through, their ability to manage money, not like it's gonna pour in and pour out. And but I thought that what was the most fascinating thing about it is both Venezuela and the United States are a 5 life path. And the 5 life path, that's the excess one. That's the too much sex, too much drugs, too much food, too much overindulgence, not enough discipline, right? And I thought that was kind of interesting that these, they're the same vibration. But United States has a ton of karmic debts. And karmic debts are connected to missing numbers, right, that are in your chart. And most of them are connected to ego and arrogance and this idea that they're always right. So,
well, I just have to raise an objection. I'm a 5, and your description didn't really. I might be
a five
excessive.
life path.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, it's not that it's a bad life, but it's scattered. It's not an organized. It brings in energy from all over the place.
Teasing you.
Right? You know?
I do have. I don't. So I get confused. My name adds up to a 4, which might explain why. So that was probably a good combination.
Well, and a 5 is good with discipline. 5s are here to learn that you can have all the freedom that you want, provided that you create like a sound structure.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
don't let your senses make all your decisions.
Well, hey, the one excess I have, well, sometimes and mostly it's food. But anyways, we're not here to talk about me. I had to raise an objection. After all, it is my podcast.
Well, I'm glad you did. And
Oh no,
Canada.
I guess it gives people a little bit. Anyway, carry on about countries. So if you're doing a country, so would you then look at their name to see what the
Yeah,
underlying,
yeah.
what's that called? I
So
forget. There's your birth path and then, or your life path and then the what?
I look at a few different things. Like I look at the expression, and that's the combination of all the consonants and vowels. Then there's the heart's desire, which is vowels, and then there's the personality, which is the consonants. So in numerology, it's like the vowels are like the essence, like the soup, and the consonants are the container, right? And a lot of the consonants like are connected to like the symbols the way that they are, like they're almost like H's are going to be about going up or going down, and they look like a ladder,
Interesting.
right?
I
You know,
love that.
so anyway,
So
um,
when you look at the name, what part of the pattern is that? Like, for instance, we're talking about a country and you're looking at its birth, and then you
yes,
look at the United States of America. What did you look to see what that adds up to?
yes. So it's a 5 life path. Let's see if I got it on here. Let's take a look at the. Oh, this is the wrong chart.
Right, I mean to
They have
sidetrack.
it because they have. I think I might have written it on my book, and then the book closed up. As soon as I saw that they had karmic debts, this has got to be the right one here. As soon as I saw that they had karmic debts, it was like, oh, because when you have karmic debts in your chart, you have like just some extra tough stuff to work through. So they've got a karmic lesson 7. They have a karmic lesson 8, right? And both of those are connected. The karmic lesson 8 is always connected to power, right? And the karmic lesson 7 is like about not seeing yourself clearly, like you got to learn to accept like who you are instead of pretending that you're not that or projecting your stuff onto other things, right? So the karmic debt stuff is an interesting thing. So we'll see, and that's going to depend not just on leaders, right, but populations as a whole, right? And I feel like the actual citizens, I think, are waking up all over the place. Like Canada's going to go through a 9 year this year. That's their personal year, and that's not an easy year to go through. That means a lot of things that we know as they are going to be dissolved.
And just out of curiosity, did you do Alberta?
I didn't do Alberta, but I'll definitely
It's
run
probably
that
not
next.
as much interest to everybody as it might be to you and me, so we can
Yeah.
maybe discuss it another time. Um,
Wait, can you do Portland, Oregon?
Like right now?
Oh, I'm just kidding.
all right, yeah. Um, so what else did you take a look at?
Well, I didn't really take a look at a lot because I did my numerology sale this weekend. So I've been like at the computer running charts for like 3 days solid. Um,
Oh, you have a
so
computer program that does all that work for you? Oh my God, what a great thing, eh?
yeah,
Because people
yeah,
don't realize that numerology is more complex than just your birthday and your name,
yeah. It's
right?
a lot of different calculations, and then some subtractions, and like it's just a lot. And the ability for me, who's not super detail oriented, to make a mistake in terms of that just cuts all of that. It cuts all of that out. But so again, it's this year, I think on a global level, like we're going to be introduced to a lot of new ideas that we may like or may not like, but on an individual level, it's going to affect each of us differently.
Yeah, no different than sometimes we don't always see countries as an entity. we think of the people that live there, but we don't think about the energy that's present when it was established.
Well, I mean, the United States, like, look at it. It basically was founded by rebels that were tired of the way that things were. They wanted to break away, right, to become free. And they're just like, that's the whole essence of freedom. But Canada, we're a 3 life path, which is great to create great artists and writers and, like but
Be
as far as
everybody's best
having,
friend?
as, as far as,
Well,
as
is
far as
that
having an identity of its own, it's not. It's always going to have like a fluid identity and no ability to manage its money.
well, don't be saying shit like that.
Well, it is what it is.
Well, it's just my
Look, how do we manage our resources? Look, just
give
look.
them
It just
away.
is what it is.
We give them away. That's what we do.
Yes, because we want to get along with everybody, right? That's the 3. It's like it's what it just tries to make sure that everybody's happy.
I didn't, yeah, I didn't see.
I'm getting all the juice on Canada right now.
Right. Whereas the states are red, like let's just come in there and let's smash things up, right? It's the energy of the catalyst, and boy, are they.
Yeah,
So
sometimes
it's it.
in ways that they don't seem. It's interesting that when you say that they lack that 7 energy. Does Canada have any karmic debts? Just so we even the playing field here a little bit.
I never really looked into Canada's karmic debt because it was kind of like a thing that I just decided to do a few minutes coming
Well,
into.
for everybody's information,
There it is.
Marlene is an Aquarius, and we are famous for. Let's do that. Oh, I only have 10 minutes. I'm going to do it anyway. What's your birth path, Marlene?
My life path is an 8 life path, which again is connected to power, which I've got oh God, Canada's full of karmic lessons. Karmic lesson 2, karmic lesson 6, 7, 8, and 9. What are
Okay,
we?
let's stop talking about Canada then.
Okay.
Well, I'm kidding. If you have anything else you'd like to say, carry on.
Well, I think we've mastered the karmic lesson 2 about becoming more diplomatic. If we were any more diplomatic,
We'd be selling ourselves. Well, we've already done.
Can I ask a question about this year, that 2026? I've seen a couple people say that it's a 1 year, and then I've seen a couple people say that it's a 1-0 year, and to drop the 0 is a mistake because the 0 has some numerological sway on that. How do you feel about that, Marlene?
no. The only numbers that don't get reduced are 11 and 22. The rest, like as far as if you look at a year, if you want to pin it on a tarot card and match a tarot card to it, sure, pin the Wheel of Fortune to it. You know what I mean? They're both 10s, right? But no.
Okay.
No. A lot of
So
people
it is technically it's a 1 year. 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And it's a good year for anybody seeking to initiate things. So so we could just say, generally speaking, say you were personally in a 1 year, then you would line up with the.
Yeah, that would be your year to initiate, right? But this might be a 1 year for the world, but you might be in a 7 year, and if you most people go into a 7 year going, what am I doing again? Why am I here?
Yeah.
So it is very individual. The person, like how we as a individual experience a year, right?
Yeah, I'm a 4. That'll be fun.
You're in a 4 year this year.
Yep.
You know what? If you like being like, it's the best year to get organized. Like this is 1 year. In the 4 year, you can get further, like in 1 year than you can in 3, because of it's like the energy of discipline supports you. So just go with it. Start with your junk drawers, right? And just and the more organized you get, like then you can have a year of freedom next year because all your systems are in place. Nothing's going to fall apart if you decide to flit off and away or to change something big in your, it's just getting ready. And we have to, if we want to build great things, we have to have a strong foundation to build them on. And sometimes that foundation is inner. Sometimes it's like everything out here is fine, but I need to feel stronger, you know?
How do you know
Well,
which year you're in?
You take the day and month of your birth and then add those together, and it'll come to, like, I usually dilute them both, right? Or that's the wrong word for them. Like, you put them together. So if you're born on the 11th, don't reduce it. Reduce, that's the word I'm looking for. So if you're born on like the 13th, reduce it to 4, right? If you're born on December, reduce that to 3. You know, you add 3 plus 4, that's 7, and then you add it to the 1, right? For the universal year, right?
Gotcha.
That's how it works. Why? What year are you? Did you figure it out?
I'm born in 77.
It doesn't matter for the personal year what year you're born in.
Oh,
To get your personal year, you just add your day and month of birth to the current year.
gotcha. Okay, so 2025 would be 9 plus
2026, honey bunny.
So it's a 1.
2026. I can't do numerology. I need like a flow chart.
Well, I'm not a happy camper. I'm in a 9th cycle year.
So am I.
And we reconnected when we were in the same. So apparently we've always been in the same cycle year.
No, but the 9 year, it is about letting things go, but it's connected to wisdom. So it's about taking everything over the last 9 years and consolidating it, filing it, celebrating it, passing it on, right? Like, because, so I think I like it. I'm not ready to do a 1 anyway.
Well, and just so everybody knows, Marlene has been gracious enough to talk to us all about our personal stuff, but we're going to have her come back and then we're going to open up the floodgates and let as many people torture her as we have time for.
Oh, it'll be fun.
So just, okay, so thanks, Marlene. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before I?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.
Yay! So I'm going to unpin Marlene. I'm announcing all of my actions because everybody needs to know. And then we're going to add Andrea back in because now we're going to talk about pitfalls and potential problems in dealing with the overall energy of this year, which is predominantly, as I said, fire and air. And how we manage the shift from earth and water to fire and air.
You want me to just talk? Go ahead.
I just have one thing to say before we do that. So, I mean, to be honest, when you start a podcast like this, you find yourself paying attention in different kinds of ways than you might have paid attention in the past. But I'm not sure that I've ever seen, one cycle where there was so much earth and water shift into another cycle that's predominantly fire and air. I don't know that have seen so many planets shift sign that, not the personal ones, because they're always shifting signs throughout the course of the year. I'm talking about Jupiter and Saturn out. Just so much activity, so much intense activity, which is, I think, one of the reasons why it's important to take into account how the shift from water and earth to fire and air is going to feel, and which is it's going to put people on edge to some degree, even the people who feel like they've hit liberation. But what kind of challenges are going to be created by that, and how can we remediate them?
Well, I think that's a really good question. I mean, I think when we get into, there's these Greek words that we should learn. One is anaphoric and one is cataphoric. Now, cataphoric means to be carried downwards, and anaphoric means to be carried upwards. And the earth and water signs are carried downwards, and the air and fire signs are carried upwards. And so it's a nice sextile, the air and fire, because they both are carried upwards, and it's a nice sextile between earth and water because they're both carried downwards. But I think when we have all these planets in fire and air, the risk would be that we're carried too far upwards, right? Like we're ungrounded, we're flighty, we need too much stimulation, we're overstim. It's just up energy, And I think so when, one of the ways to remedy things is to ride the wave and go with the flow, right? Would be to do things that are very exciting, and especially in the air arenas. Like podcasts are a great place to get very excited with new guests and new this and new that. And like maybe your podcast starts just cooking along with all these different segments, and that would be a great use of those energies. Now, if you found yourself getting flustered or flurried or ungrounded, like I was saying, then we have to pull back on that energy and go more into grounding ourselves, whether it be using fire or earth and water, promoting foods, and like eating root vegetables and meat potatoes is very earthy, right? Like, so
Having
like
a
grounding
bath,
yourself would
having a
take,
bath.
yeah, take a bath, yeah, go on a walk. Like you could try to run some of the energy through you, getting fresh air, burning some of that energy out. um there's like a balancing effect we do where we try to balance those things, or we can try to run the energy through us so that we kind of purge it and can ground that way. And I think if we were looking at stones, you might want heavier stones during this cycle of, the darks, the hematites and the obsidians, and
Mhm.
the more grounding stones. Of course, if you're being extreme, you could wear a lead belt, right, Leslie? This most
No,
Saturn belt ever. But you see what I'm saying? I'm joking, but just
I
for
can't
effect
even
of like
handle.
anything that brings you down.
I can't even handle hematite. It's too much for
Oh,
me.
I know hematite's tough, actually. It's really heavy, energetically. But you get the idea, the
It
concept
really
there is like anything that kind of like can
a
concretize
brown a brown stone or a green stone, and anything that connects you earthwise.
it may
Go
be a
go
big chunk of petrified wood. I mean, that would be very Taurus.
go sit under a tree.
Yes, yes.
Like I'm
Um,
lucky because my house is surrounded by trees. So it really does, and
yeah.
I love trees, so it really does help ground me.
Even if you were burning incenses, you could burn some more like earthy incense, like sage, or something earthy. You just don't, you want to promote the kind of calmness to combat the kind of frenzied nature of the energies in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm already at times feeling overstimulated. It's
Yeah.
ironic because I was saying this to Marlene earlier today, and that I used to be terrified. I hated being alone.
Mm.
And now it's sometimes, you know, there are times when it's like, I'm really happy to live in my house by myself.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
Because,
but on the other hand, I am looking forward to a relief from the
yeah.
energy pushing down. Um,
I
but we,
personally am very excited for this fire air situation. I mean, I don't want people to get thinking that everything is bad and needs a remedy. I mean, it could be that these energies are just altogether quite positive.
I don't mean that they're negative. It's just more a case of, well, for some people, it's going to be circuits overload, and
Yeah.
and also to be aware that fire and air can have you run down a road without you really thinking about where you're going and what might happen. Because there's a difference between taking, yeah. This might be a good year for me to finish developing that webinar on Mars and the rhythm of risk. Anyway, because anyway, so I mean it more to give people a sense of if you're feeling overstimulated or you're wired for sound. How do you actually just get yourself back in your body? Because with fire and air, you can be, and
They say magnets are kind of good when you get overstimmed with air energy, so maybe magnets.
what would you like me to do with them?
You could wear them around your wrist. You could wear a belt of
Oh yeah.
magnets.
Oh, I've done acutonics and I've been given magnets.
Oh,
It'll be
nice.
time for some. Um, So yeah, just I'm glad you brought that point up so we understand we're not saying there's anything bad, but there are challenges with everything
Mhm.
and how to manage that energy, how to work with that energy. And so understanding, yeah, that things are going to feel pretty zingy, pretty heady, pretty um, excitable, like people are going to be excitable. Um, Understanding what's um, at the root of that so that you can work with it, because that's really what it's all about. I mean, the purpose of the podcast is to help people understand how to work with the energies that are currently uh, in play.
I mean, I
And
love your name for the segment, which is potential pitfalls, right? It doesn't mean that it has to be, but there, like you said, with anything, there are potential, challenges.
besides it's alliterative. Potential pitfalls and problems. I do love words. Let's play with words. Okay. So anything else?
No, I
So
think that's about it.
and the other thing is that during this period of time, it's interesting because water is very sensitive and fire is very inspirational and intuitive. And together, it's not like you're moving away from your feeling center. You're just going to express your knowing it's going to come in a different form. In other words, it's going to, I like to call it like a download as opposed to you feel it in your body.
Hmm.
So, uh, part of all the fire in the air is to pay attention to the thoughts that you're having and the energy and the ideas. And a lot of stuff is going to happen, but I don't know. I like what's been happening for me in the last year or so is I wake up with my my brain is obviously having fun while I'm sleeping because I wake up and it's in the middle of writing a book.
Yeah.
And there's a plot and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So, and not and the reason I'm saying this is so you understand. However, your imagination, which presents itself, just celebrate that. It doesn't. Not everything has to come into physical reality for you to appreciate what your creativity, your imagination, whatever. It's to pull you up,
Mhm.
and because sometimes we get a little too bogged down.
Mhm.
Did any of that make any sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like the planetary cycle has a wisdom to it. Like we go through all this earth and water and we are very grounded, and that could get boring over time, right? That the human would.
Gee,
Yeah, exactly. And so then all of a sudden the energy shifts into be this more frenetic and uplifted vibe. And then in that case, then we get more interested in life again. And then later we'll have to ground as, that ends. So I mean, during this time there could be, with fire and air too, there could be conflicts over ideas. I mean, that's the thing with fire in the mix is there could be contention over what is said, because a lot will be said with the air signs. And so that we could have to
well,
look into how, letting people have different opinions and things.
and some part of air signs, because they are very social, air energy is very sociable, really want to connect with people,
Mhm.
but also you need to remember that it's conversation isn't just about talking, it's also about listening. So to make real connections with people, you have to listen as much as you need to talk.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's tough. I was recently talking to a Mercury and Aries person and they kept talking at me and I realized they never stopped to ask a question. And I was like, that is so fire Mercury, and I think that's kind of what you're saying is that, with all the fire air, it's like there might be people talking at us and not with us. And that could be one of the pitfalls there.
Well, and the other thing is to recognize that with all that fire and air, you also have the right to bring the conversation to a close if it's not a conversation. And reminds me once of I met this guy and I thought maybe there might be something there. And then I thought, much to my surprise, I thought, I spent a good portion of my life being a journalist and asking people questions. Maybe I should ask this person questions, and I might find out something about him that tells me whether this is doable or not doable. So I don't know what the question was, but he proceeded to tell me that he didn't believe he had a soul, and he went on and on and on about this, that, and the other thing. And at the end, I went to say something, and he said, "Nothing you say is going to change my mind." And I said, "Funny, I thought this was a dialogue, not a monologue." So at any rate, these are the kinds of life situations that we have, and part of the fire in the air, if you tap into it, will give you the opportunity to stand your ground and speak your piece. And with Jupiter and Leo and Cancer, a kind and loving way, as opposed to being mean about it. Okay, so
Yeah,
now
I am excited for the Uranus and Gemini. I think that things are going to open up from YouTubing to like live streaming and letting people in the room, and like it's just going to be wild. It's going to be fun.
so much fun, Andrea.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we don't got much time left, and we still have to do the AstroBite segment, and this is where we're going to discover whether I can actually share my screen. Okay, wow, that worked. How do I get, okay, that was good. Okay, so because this was so complex, I decided that I would share the screen. So for people who are watching the podcast, or for the people who are here, you can write down the ones that apply to you instead of having to listen to it 14 times to make sure you got everything. So again, I don't know why I was so hesitant to say that an astrobite is a keyword. It's a keyword and a key focus for this one for this year. And of course, that doesn't mean that the ones that follow for each and every solar cycle, you will work with them all together. But this is an overarching thing for the year. So for Aries, the word is challenge. The planet you get to work with is Saturn. And the animal, your animal guide, and I don't know if I have time to do this, maybe not. So the planet you're going to work with is Saturn. And the card, I want to show you the visual of the card because it's really pretty, and I'll put it. It's the elk, and these cards come from Stephen Farmer's Messages from Your Spiritual Animals. Now, what I would suggest is that, you do a little research on Saturn and you do a little research on the elk to find out why this is important. It's, one of the things that's valuable when you're working with energy and in its various forms, whether it's astrology, numerology, oracle cards, whatever, your response is what is important to you, not anybody else's interpretation. So the next for Taurus is persevere, and happiness is Pluto is your planet, followed by the cheetah. And of course, my brain went, what? And and that was my logical side. And then my intuitive side said, this isn't about what you think. Okay, and for Gemini, the word is ground, and the planet is the moon. And you get the ladybug. I have to say, I was a little jealous about that. I love ladybugs.
I just saw a ladybug yesterday, and I'm a Gemini rising.
Oh, there you go. Don't you love synchronicity? I do. So Cancer, the word is breakthrough. The planet is Uranus. And now don't be offended because people are going to think this is not a positive card. But this one is about being silent, paying attention, and simply observing the weasel. These are really nice cards. Okay, so next we have Leo, and the word is shipped, and the planet is Mars. And the animal, or in this case, it's a bird, is the blue heron. I should be holding these up a little closer. I didn't, anyway, and for Virgo, the word is focus. And aren't they lucky they get the sun? And the animal that they get is the zebra. And next we have Libra, which is initiate, and the planet is Jupiter. And the animal is the mountain goat. Oh my God, this one fell out of the deck 3 times before I accepted. Okay, and the next is Scorpio. And the word is consolidate. And the planet is Mercury. And the animal is chameleon. How do you feel about those, Andy?
Weird. It's weird. It's good though.
Okay, and then we have Sagittarius, and the word is shape. And of course, I just want to say in this instance that most of these words are intended to be verbs. So they get the planet Saturn, probably not the thing that's likely to make them happy. But with all the fire and air, and they are mutable, they will need to ground themselves or have. So Saturn will help them with shaping their lives. And uh, and they got honeybee. And then we have Capricorn, and they got the word harness. They got the planet Mercury. And they got the walrus, which still looks Capricornian, Saturnian to me.
It does. It looks like a big Capricorn burly guy.
I was going to say lump.
I know. That's what I was trying to not say.
Okay, so next we have Aquarius, and the word is create. And Marlene, we get Neptune, which I can't say I went yay, but it is a nine cycle year for, I don't know if it's going to be 9 for everybody, but um, actually this will be really, really helpful, especially to early Aquarians or anybody who's early planets in Aquarius, because um, it will play nice with Pluto, and there'll be a lot of creative passion in that. And this one really made me laugh, and I wasn't sure I liked it. So, the Roadrunner. And last but not least, we have Pisces, and the word is breathe, and the planet they get is Venus. Anybody jealous? No. And the animal they get is the tortoise. So yes, and this is the book. Comes with a deck of cards. It's messages from your animal spirit guides, oracle cards. And Marlene and I both had the pleasure of meeting and spending time with Stephen Farmer. Right, Marlene?
His former wife, Jessica Camacho, just opened up a beautiful metaphysical store. Oh, it's in California. It's not that far from Laguna Beach. If you ever wanted to tour around and go and do a little seminar somewhere where it's nice and warm, I'll forward you her her info. She's fantastic.
That would be lovely. After all the snow and everything that we've had, that would be great, actually. Okay. Okay, well, again, thank you for joining me. And before we go, we have not one quote and wrap it up. We have two. One, I thought maybe we could have both a serious one and a funny one, or an inspirational one and a funny one. So, two quotes for the price of one. Not that anybody had to pay anything other than their time. Time is valuable. So, if life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor. Eleanor Roosevelt. And then
That's so real.
I snorted. Anyway, and then the last one is the funny one, which is life is a series of obstacles preventing you from taking a nap. And so you have the opportunity to think and laugh at the same time, which is probably exactly the kind of energy we can expect as we move into air and fire. Lots of thinking and hopefully lots of laughter. So I done did it again. Managed to cover all of that in 70, well, almost 74 minutes. So thanks again for joining me. I just want to say it's always so much fun for me to meet people, whether it's online or directly or indirectly or whatever. So thank you for supporting this podcast. Changes are coming. Pretty soon we'll be moving off Zoom and moving to a streaming platform and seeking a larger audience. But I want to thank all of the people who have been here with me since the beginning, including my producer and my friend Marlene, who has jumped in and been so positive and supportive. These are things that make my life full and abundant. So thanks so much. And until next time, be true to yourself.
Thank you, Leslie.
Oh, she decided to do something stupid at the end. Okay, bye.
Oh my God.